This morning I'm going to talk about illusion and intuition. The first part of the talk is going to be about people who say, oh, I already know, and how that relates to illusion and glamour. I'm going to be giving some definitions of what illusion is and what glamour is. And then the last part of the talk, I'll be talking about intuition, about what intuition is, and how intuition can be used to cure people who already know. It's interesting. How often do you hear people, perhaps your friends or coworkers or family members, saying, well, I already know that. Or, yeah, I know. Now you're going to become really aware of it. Right? People have the illusion that they know the meaning of the words that they hear. They have the illusion that they already know the meaning of what they speak. They have the illusion that the ideas and opinions that they express are their own creation. I've had these kinds of experiences with people who come into my office for counseling. And I always resource the teaching, to help move us ahead. And so oftentimes they'll say, well, I already know that. And my response is, why aren't you doing it then? Now, studying the teachings, studying the subject of illusion and people who say, I already know, it's because they really do think they already know. But knowledge is hypothetical until you put it to work, until you really apply it, till it becomes part of the fabric of who you are. The thing is, such a mentality, if it continues, it creates a great obstacle because it prevents people from touching reality. But even beyond that, and perhaps more importantly, it prevents them from expanding their consciousness. So there is a danger for those who think they already know. The first thing is they don't search anymore. Now, search and research are two different things. Because I already know people who do a lot of research. And they have journals and compilations of so much that they have accumulated from, search engines and word searches, word find, all these things that we now have available to us through the internet and our computers. But that's different than searching. Searching means to seek out, to meet a need. And once we compile the information, then we test it out. And that's what it means to search. It's what it means to be a seeker. We're not going into something to say, I'm accumulating all this information so that this information gives me the power and that I already know. It is opening up new horizons of consciousness that otherwise would not be available to us. The next point is people who think they already know, they do not respect those who do know. They won't listen to them. I see this so often in the esoteric community, which is where my frame of reference always seems to be. I present the teaching to various groups, and oftentimes large groups. And I can always tell the ones that are sitting there critically, it's like, I know this. No, that should be over here. No, I know this, and this should be said in a little different way. These are I already know. I'd rather have 5 people to talk to than the I already know people, because they're not critical. Those who already know ridicule those who have different opinions from themselves, who have different opinions than their own. And those who already know, they become discouraged. This is what's so serious, is they become discouraged when their illusions thicken to such a degree that they cannot make a breakthrough. So this is a really, really important talk. Don't use it to compare, the I already know people, but look at yourself. And you may not say, verbally that, oh, I already know, but you may think it inside. And with this process of thought, you're going to stay the same, even if you think you are growing. And this is what I mean by that. Oftentimes, people will take an idea. Let's say, take an idea from the teaching, like intuition, the subject of intuition, or the subject of illusion and glamour. And they'll memorize a paragraph, and they think they understand that paragraph, and they may give a talk or write an article or turn in a meditation report that is the same thing time after time after time. They may change the coloring a little bit, but the form stays the same, which means, see, they're not using intuition. They're not expanding their consciousness. They're just standing in the same place, on the same platform of knowledge. This type of person also creates relationships based on various ways of imposition. Now, what does this mean? You oftentimes see this in a family, where there is one person in the family that is the I know-it-all. And they begin to impose their knowledge, their opinions, onto the whole family, which creates codependency, which stops the family from growing, and oftentimes sees families break up, or dissolve, because this one person is imposing themselves, their knowledge, their understanding, their opinions, on their family members, not allowing the wings, of that child or that spouse to grow and to become a visionary. And then the third such person, when they meet opposition, their I already know illusion becomes a glamour. The illusion becomes a glamour with strong feelings of rejection and hatred and jealousy and repulsion. Now, when an illusion turns into a glamour, the person really falls into a trap. And this trap oftentimes leads him into the wrong direction, causes pain and suffering, causes a lot of wasted time. So most illusions create the state of consciousness that is called vanity. Vanity makes a person believe that he or she has what she really doesn't. So interesting. Vanity then creates illusions and glamours in one's mind. Now, this is all strictly the teaching. And if you're listening to this on YouTube or on our webinar this morning and you're not familiar with these terms, you're going to have to work with them a little bit. You know, the video YouTube is usually posted tonight. You can listen to it throughout the week, and these words will start coming alive to you. Illusion and glamour and intuition. So if this is the first time you've heard these terms, just be patient with yourself. You'll love it. So vanity creates illusions, and we all know vanity, right? This is a word that, you know, it's not esoteric. So vanity, what does vanity do? Vanity is not confidence. It's not self-confidence, by the way. Vanity creates illusions and glamours in one's mind. Now, number 4, such people want to have things that they don't deserve to have. They haven't earned it yet. They haven't gone through the school of hard knocks. You know, they're borrowing from other people's creativity, other people's knowledge, other people's experience, and now they think they deserve to have this or that. So let's say that they get this or that. What happens is they don't have the capacity to make use of what they have. So something as simple as the books and the teaching. If they're not studying the books of the teaching, and the teaching is life, what are they doing with all of these books? Well, they say, I know it already. So those books stay on the shelf. But they don't know, they don't have the capacity to make use of the information or the knowledge that is found in the books of the teaching. And the last point with, I already know people, they violate the rights of people by forcefully asking for recognition. How does one forcefully ask for recognition? They can say things like, don't you know who I am? Or they will stand in front of a crowd of people and impose their opinions on the people, which is saying, I want you to recognize who I am because of my great opinion. But they haven't been through the school of hard knocks yet. People will say, well, I'm a leader. I know what it means to be a leader. No leader will say, I am a leader. True leaders say, I'm a servant of humanity. True leaders say, I am working on myself to better myself, to be an example for those in my environment. You know, true leaders are always in the trenches. That's true leadership. Okay, so what's going on with this type of person? This is what's happening. Illusion and glamour mixed together. So we have vanity and the vanity that is the summation of to describe a person that is a know-it-all person. This vanity has now created illusion and glamour, and it has mixed together to create a whirlpool of force that attracts the glamours of the environment. So illusion and glamour is created by a whirlpool of force that attracts the glamours of the environment. and turns into a continuous problem for themselves and their personal environment. But if such a person is influential in the community or the world, then the problem becomes bigger and bigger, see, for us all. These kinds of personalities turn into an instrument of manipulation or exploitation. Those who are awake will walk away from such people. They'll give them time. They'll, try to understand where they're coming from. They'll try to perhaps even practice some of their ideas, or they'll be patient, or they'll be tolerant. Practice the virtues with a manipulative or exploitative person until they see that they're under the control of illusion and glamour. And they'll stop wasting their time and they'll leave. Most of those who continuously criticize other people are really craving recognition and satisfaction for their glamours. Illusions and glamours, when combined, lead people to depression and unhappiness. See, now, if you're a psychologist and you're listening to this, this is going to be valuable information where you can help your clients. Unhappy people are the greatest danger for humanity. We're certainly seeing these things in the news today. Any effort to make unhappy people happy, now listen to this, any effort to make unhappy people happy by injecting more glamours and feeding them with what they crave is the biggest mistake. Now, what does this mean? Flattery. Because they want flattery. They want recognition. That's what a glamour does. It makes us hungry. It makes us want to have this glamour fed with more and more energy. So people who live around those who have glamours, like mom and dad or a husband or a wife or children, in order to get along with people who already know, who are really craving recognition, we give in to them. And giving in to them, we're feeding that glamour. It's a danger because feeding these glamours creates an attitude in these people that encourages them and makes them take those positions that are used to enslave others, trap others, and manipulate them. So injecting more glamours can perhaps be best understood as flattery. Now, this is a definition of glamour. A glamour is a crystallized desire form built in the astral aura. Astral aura is also known as the emotional element of one's aura, that it is a crystallized desire. In other words, it's frozen. It's concretized, in that emotional nature. Now, a glamour doesn't all of a sudden, how can I say this? It takes a while to build a glamour. So a glamour is built upon desire, strong desire. So strong desire gradually turns into glamours. I think of the women today, they're aging, the older women, middle-aged women usually, although some younger girls are doing the same thing, where they're using Botox. It's like They start out with Botox, and then they go in for surgery, plastic surgery. And then that, wow, look at those lines are going. Well, let me go back. I'm going to have another one. And I'll start taking this and this off. And pretty soon that woman looks so ridiculous. You know, but to her, she's so glamorous now because she's trying to recapture what she looked like when she was a teenager. So she looks stupid, not wise. But to her, she looks in the mirror and she sees this glamorous woman. See, that's desire, a strong desire that becomes a glamour. Such glamours have a great power, not only upon our emotional responses and reactions, but also upon our mental and physical actions and reactions. Once these glamours possess us, we act under their command. Isn't that interesting? And chances are we don't even know it. People around and about us will know it, but we won't, because we're under the command of the glamour. An emotional body is full of glamours. Glamours are like subtle force emanations. Subtle force emanations. It is so interesting to think about this. It's almost, for people who are really working on themselves, who are really striving to progress, to spiritually progress. To spiritually progress means to release the soul from these glamours, from these illusions, from these issues of vanity, so that we can graduate from this earth school. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that these subtle force emanations exercise such great pressure on the human soul for attention and actualization that we can't get away from it without somebody hitting us over the head with a mallet, or life bringing some really harsh tests to us to make us forced to look at reality. So glamours are actually unfulfilled desires connected to many memories and fortified with negative emotions. Now, illusions. Illusions are crystallizations in our mental body. In illusion, we see two parts to a person's mind, two parts to our mind. We see the crystallized portion, and then we see the portion that is functioning. The crystallized part is the part that's full of illusion. An illusion is composed of distorted mental images. I already know. The distorted mental images that make us believe it and nothing else, and that it is total reality. The corresponding part of the crystallized portion of the mind now is not functioning. It's the part of the brain that's not going to function because the illusion has taken over. So you think your whole brain is functioning, but it is not. When these situations happen, the I already know, it is likely you are functioning in illusion. It becomes a difficult situation when an illusion turns into a glamour, for it leads to vanity, and vanity makes us believe that we have something or know something that we do not know or do not have. Those who take an I already know attitude, they create this is so serious, it creates a wall between themselves and their higher self, or their soul, or their solar angel. All three mean the same. Okay. A wall between themselves and the soul, and so the inspiration of the soul can no longer penetrate, see, into the personality and lead the personality into the right direction. Similar things happen between the person and his teacher. And I already know attitude gradually isolates the person from his or her teacher, and he remains behind on the path of progress. I remember a young man who I had given a copy of the Challenge for Discipleship book to by Torquem Saradarian. Now this guy was not awake, but he was seeking. But he had an I already know attitude. So a few months later, I said, come on in, let's talk about the book. So he talked about all the points of the book he felt were in error. I learned a lot from I already know attitude, just in that one statement. He had never written a book. He didn't know the teaching. He wasn't there to learn something new to experience in his life. He was there to edit and proofread the book and the content. So interesting. So he remained behind on the path of his progress, while others strive for more and more inspiration and vision. And this is why humility is emphasized so much in the literature of great ones. And yeah, I know, or yeah, I already know attitude eventually kills the sensitivity of the mental, of the mind, and the mental bodies. That doesn't make sense, does it? Let me rewrite this in my head, okay? What happens is that when we are functioning under this I already know attitude, and illusion and glamour has mixed together, now we're isolating ourselves from life itself. So the mental body, this would be the lower mind, becomes so concretized, so crystallized, so frozen in his or her knowledge, that the door shuts, depression sets in, and oftentimes the person then ends his life in a very, very sad way. Sad can be suicide, living alone, having repelled friends. It's a very, very difficult death for such a person. The I already know attitude forces a person to pretend to be everything. I'm going to have to speed this up. I'll never get through it, and I have to get through it. It's such a good talk. The I already know attitude forces a person to pretend to be everything. So think about this. Look at yourself. Am I one of these people that pretends to be everything? It is so interesting to me when I go to somebody and say, can you show me how to do this? I'll get two types of responses. One, that person will say, I'm so excited to help you, absolutely. Tell me what you need. I'll tell you what I know, and let's see if together we can learn something more. The other person, if I go to that person and say, can you help me with this? Oh, she's stupid. I already know. She's stupid. Well, I'll see if I can teach her. And the superiority attitude shuts me down. See, I don't want to learn from somebody like that. I want to learn from somebody that says, let's look at this together. Maybe I can learn something new too. The person who pretends to be everything, in essence, is likely ignorant. It is here that he begins to split. Such a person begins to split within his own nature. The only cure for him is to develop his intuition. Because, see, isn't this a surprise? Intuition. Because in the light of intuition, he can know the futility of the I already know attitude. So there is the solution. Intuition is the ability to see things without the help of the intellect. But intuition cannot relate its revelation to an I already know person. In other words, an intellect is unable to see the whole, see only the parts. Parts which were deduced from his education, from his hypothetical knowledge base. Intuition is direct knowingness or wholeness. It is a pure discriminative faculty without personality involvement, see, without opinion. Agni Yoga defines intuition as spirit knowledge or straight knowledge. And Helena Rourke, the founder of Agni Yoga, says intuition is of an extremely high quality. Intuition is the greatest achievement of a person. It is the achievement. The greatest achievement of a person is intuition. See, this is not gut instinct. This is not being psychic. This is the highest achievement possible that bypasses the intellect, the education, and all your book learning. Intuition unlocks the mysteries and secrets of the universe. The intuition is the revelatory power through which our human soul learns by being. The human soul, our human soul, learns by being. So being is an important word here. No matter what the student knows, the teacher starts with the fundamentals of beingness. The fundamentals of beingness are the application of the teaching to life, the manifestation of certain virtues, overcoming habits, cultivating tolerance, choosing the most essential, manifesting joy, and living in solemnity. These are the fundamentals of beingness. Beingness is mostly the sum total of love that we have for beauty, joy, freedom, and so forth. Beingness is related to changelessness. Knowingness is related to change. See, knowingness is related to change, but beingness is related to changelessness. Beingness means to be universal in all of our relationships. And the teaching defines beingness in this way. It says beingness is where one has a sense of universality that makes us realize that in each living form, you are present. In each living form, you are present. So again, intuition is a revelatory power through which the human soul learns by being. The soul learns by being. Now, beingness has levels. To define your level of beingness, we can say that it is the percentage of mastery. Beingness is the percentage of mastery that you have achieved over your physical, emotional, and mental bodies. The percentage, in other words, the percentage of transformation that we have carried out throughout our vehicles, and the percentage of substantiation of our soul. Substantiation of our soul means it will never step backward. So how do you know if your soul is learning? By being. It means to look for solid proof that you are growing and that you are maturing. A great sage says that the intuition is the light of the universal mind. The light of the universal mind that is in every atom, every form, and that this light leads us to know. When Master Morya says, "An arhat sees with the eyes of the heart," he is referring to the universal identification, love, and the understanding, because an arhat lives in the light of the Mahat, M-A-H-A-T. An arhat lives in the light of Mahat, and Mahat means universal mind. I'm almost done. Okay? Okay. The development of the intuition, what does it do? It economizes our time and money and energy and material resources because it simplifies all complications. And our glamours and illusions, it is our glamour and illusions that produce all of these complications. This is why intuition is the solution. Okay. So intuition is the closest distance between a problem and its solution. It is almost an instantaneous solution, almost a revelation. So we are told that one moment of intuitive experience can be analyzed for 70 years to bring it to a level of the understanding of the people. This means that those who are intuitive are 700, 7,000, or even 7 million years ahead of us. Their knowledge, their understanding, their success, their achievements are almost eternal. One of the greatest intuitives was Buddha. Another was Christ, and a few others. They stand for us as light beacons in the history of humanity. So I'm going to end there. And I purposely did not insert stories, or jokes or anything, because I wanted to get through this. I think it's so important. So really, I hope you took good notes, or you can listen to this on YouTube, you can order the CD, and really think about it. If you want to move ahead, if you want to look at your life and ask yourself, why is my life not what I dreamed it to be now that I'm all grown up? Why do I have all these complications? Think about this.